only a few more days and Christmas will be here, which means Christmas music will go away, the Christmas decorations will come down. And singing Christmas songs throughout this season has reminded me that not all Christmas songs come from a happy place. While Christmas is a festive time, not every song is written from an attitude of joyfulness or of heartfelt love for Christ. You know, one of my favorite Christmas songs is I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. He wrote it in the 1800s. He was a genius on his own right. He was known throughout the world as an intellectual. He was a professor at different universities in several countries. He'd spent a long time in France, but he had a life marked by hardship. He was an American patriot. He loved the United States, and when it seemed like civil war was going to break out, he came back to the United States from Europe. And he was broken by the cause of slavery. He saw slavery as a huge moral evil. He saw it as a threat to a virtue, a threat to a biblical ethic, but most of all, he saw it as a threat to the fabric of the United States, the country that he loved. And so he was heartbroken by slavery. And then in 1863, his wife of many decades, it was his second wife, his first had died in childbirth, but his second wife of many decades, happily married, she died in a tragic accident, a fire at home. She was doing a craft and her dress caught on fire, and Longfellow tried to extinguish the fire. He wrapped her in a rug, and he was unable to. In fact, she not only died from the blaze, but Longfellow was permanently disfigured for the rest of his life. If you've ever seen a picture of him, you probably saw the beard. It was designed to cover all the scars that he sustained in trying to rescue his wife's life. Well, he was broken from losing his wife, and it was a few months later that his son ran away from home. His son ran away to join the Union Army and fight in the Civil War, and this just crushed him. And then Christmas Day, 1863, rolled around, and he goes outside and distressed over the loss of his wife, distressed over his son running away. He'd received a telegram saying that his son was mortally wounded in battle. A bullet entered his son's left side and exited under his right shoulder. They thought it severed his spinal cord. He was taken to a church down in Orange, Virginia, where they thought he would die. They sent Longfellow a telegram telling about this, and he was crushed. He collapsed in the street on Christmas Day in Boston, Cambridge, Massachusetts. And you know what he heard that Christmas morning? He heard the bells throughout Boston ringing to announce that it was Christmas time. Some of the churches even had couriers running through the streets announcing peace on earth, goodwill to men. Longfellow thought it must be a joke. As he sat there in the street that morning, he thought, this is absurd. What kind of cruel joke is this to say that there's peace on earth? How can there be peace on earth? And you look around a country divided by war, you see marriages divided by death, you see families divided by children suffering, you see hardships and suffering in the earth. How dare anyone proclaim peace on earth? Don't they know? Don't those church bells know what Longfellow was going through? He laid there in despair, and in the song he even writes that hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. But something dawned on Longfellow as he lied on the street there that morning. What dawned on him is that the more obstinate he was towards the message of Christmas, the more hardened his heart became, the more distant the idea of peace seemed to him. The bells kept on ringing. The bells weren't silenced by his lack of faith. The bells weren't silenced by the war that was dividing the country. The bells weren't silenced by his wife's death. And in fact, in the song he writes, the bells kept on ringing, but it wasn't just that they rang that morning for a prolonged period of time. They had been ringing for 2,000 years. For 2,000 years, Christians have announced peace on earth, goodwill towards men. For 2,000 years, Christians have taken the words from the angel in Luke 2 and said there is peace on earth. And how can that be? How can Christians legitimately say there's peace on earth? I mean, our country seems divided this day. It doesn't seem like there's peace in our country, but we have nothing compared to 1863. How can we say there's peace anywhere in the earth, much less here? The answer is in the angel's words in Luke 2. The angel goes on to say, peace on earth among men with whom he is well pleased. In other words, there is peace, but only among those who have the pleasure of Christ. There is peace, but only among those who come to faith in God through the person of Jesus Christ. And this seems like an absurd message. I mean, how could this baby born in a manger be offering peace to the world? We've seen how kings have come to authority. We've seen how presidents are inaugurated with pomp and circumstance and parades and much attention. But Jesus' birth is nothing like that at all. It's in a stable, it's in a manger, it's in a forgotten village in Israel. There are hardly any witnesses. There was no pomp, no circumstances, shepherds and angels who announced peace on earth, but it seemed like Jesus' life did not bring peace. He was persecuted, he was opposed throughout his life, ultimately murdered on a cross 33 years later. Nevertheless, Christians proclaim the message of the angels, peace on earth, that there is peace, but only when you come to faith in God through Jesus Christ. And when you give your heart to Christ, then you see the message of the bells. Then you see the bells proclaim that hate is wrong. The wrong will fail, the right will prevail, Longfellow writes, when there's peace on earth and goodwill towards men. This is the message of Christmas. And it would be my prayer that anyone watching this video would place their faith in Christ, that they, on this Christmas season, would hear the message of the bells, that they would hear the bells ring, that they would hear the song of the angels, that they would hear the message that Christians have proclaimed for thousands of years. You can have peace, even here, even now, even this year, but only when you come to God through faith in Christ.